I only wanted to make a sweet anniversary montage. Something simple, something loving. A compilation of our best moments over 12 years of marriage. I thought I'd surprise him with memories set to his favorite song, maybe add some old photos from our honeymoon in Santorini, clips from birthdays, Christmases, quiet Sunday mornings. Then I opened a file on our home security cameras. And I saw my husband having an affair in our living room. That was the cause. Hello everyone, where are you watching from today? I hope you're doing well, truly. Before we go any further into this, I need to ask you something. Are you subscribed to my channel? Because my mom said I can't reach 1K subs, and honestly, I really need you to help me prove her wrong. If you're enjoying this already, hit that button. Please. It means everything. The effect? Tonight, at our anniversary dinner, surrounded by family, friends, his co-workers, his boss, even people who looked up to us as the perfect couple, I was going to play the footage he thought I'd never find. The footage he probably forgot even existed. Let me take you back to where this all started. Not the affair. That came later. I'm talking about the beginning, the version of my life that looked perfect from every angle you could see it from. My name is Sarah Buchanan. I'm 34 years old, a project manager at a tech firm downtown, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had everything figured out. A beautiful 2-story home in the suburbs with a garden I actually tended to. A husband who worked in finance and made good money. No kids yet, but we talked about it sometimes, in that vague way people do when they're not quite ready but want to seem like they're planning. We looked perfect. We really did. Trevor Buchanan, my husband of 12 years, was the kind of man people noticed. Tall, well-dressed, charming in that effortless way that made strangers trust him instantly. He had this smile that reached his eyes, or at least I thought it did. He'd hold doors open for elderly women at the grocery store, tip generously at restaurants, remember the names of our neighbors' dogs. Everyone loved Trevor. I loved Trevor. Or I loved the Trevor I thought I knew. Our marriage wasn't passionate, not in the way romance novels describe it. We didn't have fire. We had comfort. Routine. Sunday morning coffee on the porch, him reading the financial section while I scrolled through home decor ideas on my phone. Weekly date nights that became monthly, then every other month, then something we just sort of forgot about unless I planned them. And I always planned them. I was the one who remembered our anniversary. I was the one who bought gifts for his parents' birthdays. I was the one who kept our social calendar, who made sure we didn't become one of those couples who stopped trying. Trevor didn't reciprocate much, but I told myself that was fine. He worked hard. He was tired. He showed love differently. These were the things I repeated to myself when I felt that small ache of being unseen. This year, our 12th anniversary was coming up. 12 years. An entire dozen years of my life wrapped up in this man, in this marriage, in this idea of us. I wanted to do something special. Before we dive deeper, if you're new here, hi love. I'm glad you made it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss stories that touch the heart. I promise you, what comes next is going to shake you. I decided to make a video montage. I know, it sounds cheesy. But Trevor always said he wished we had more photos together, more memories preserved. So I thought, what better gift than a compilation of everything we'd been through? Our wedding day, vacations, holidays with family, random moments I'd captured on my phone over the years. I spent days planning it. I went through old hard drives, dug through boxes in the attic, scrolled back years on my phone's camera roll. I even reached out to his sister, Emily, asking if she had any photos or videos from family gatherings that I might have missed. It was going to be beautiful. I could already picture his face when he saw it, the way his eyes might get a little misty, the way he'd pull me close and thank me for remembering, for caring, for always being the one who held us together. God, I was so naive. 3 weeks before our anniversary, I was sitting at my desk in our home office, laptop open, organizing files. I'd already sorted through most of the obvious folders. Wedding photos, vacation pics, birthday videos. But then I noticed something. A folder I didn't recognize. It was labeled CAM_backup_2024 and dated from 8 months ago. I didn't remember creating it. Maybe Trevor had done it? We had security cameras installed last year after a few break-ins in the neighborhood. Maybe this was just automatic backup footage. Curiosity pulled at me. Maybe there was something sweet in there. Maybe a moment I'd forgotten about, something candid we could use. I clicked it open. Inside were dozens of video files, all time-stamped, all from our living room camera. I scrolled through, looking for anything interesting. Most of it was just empty rooms, the cleaning lady coming through on Thursdays, me walking past with laundry. Then I saw a file from March 14th. March 14th. That was when I'd gone to stay with my mother for a week. She'd had surgery, needed help around the house, and Trevor had encouraged me to go, said he'd be fine on his own. I clicked it. The video opened in our living room. Afternoon light streaming through the windows. Everything looked normal. Then Trevor walked into frame. And he wasn't alone. A woman I'd never seen before followed him. Brunette, younger than me, wearing a fitted dress that probably cost more than my entire work wardrobe. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand on his arm, too familiar, too comfortable. My heart started pounding before my brain could catch up to what I was seeing. They sat on our couch. Our couch. The one we'd picked out together at that furniture store in the city, the one I'd spent hours agonizing over because I wanted it to be perfect. He poured her wine. From the bottle we'd been saving. The expensive one from our trip to Napa Valley. And then he kissed her. Not a peck. Not a friendly gesture. A real, deep, intentional kiss. The kind of kiss that said this wasn't the first time. The kind that came with history, with intimacy, with secrets kept in shadows. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the laptop. The video kept playing. I couldn't look away. I watched as they moved closer, as his hand slid up her thigh, as she whispered something in his ear that made him smile in a way I hadn't seen in years. And then I noticed what he was wearing. The blue linen shirt. The one I'd given him on our wedding morning. The one he said was his favorite. The one he wore when he wanted to feel close to me. He was wearing it with her. I slammed the laptop shut. My chest felt like it was caving in. The room spun. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to stop the tears, but they came anyway, hot and furious and full of a betrayal so deep I thought I might actually be sick. How long had this been going on? Who was she? How many times had he done this? Did everyone know but me? And hey, while you're here, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as part of the family. Go on, I'll wait. Because what happens next, you're not going to want to miss. I sat there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. My mind raced through every interaction, every late night at the office, every business trip, every time he'd been distant or distracted or too tired for me. How blind had I been? Then something shifted inside me. The crying stopped. The shaking steadied. Rage replaced grief. Cold, calculated, powerful rage. I wasn't going to cry in a corner. I wasn't going to confront him privately and let him manipulate me with apologies and excuses. I wasn't going to give him the chance to gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting. No. If Trevor wanted to play games, I'd show him what happens when you underestimate the woman who loved you. I was going to make him pay. Publicly. I need you to understand something about my marriage before I tell you what I did next. I need you to see what I saw, what everyone else saw when they looked at Sarah and Trevor Buchanan. We were the couple people envied. At dinner parties, friends would joke about how we never fought, how we always seemed so in sync. Trevor's colleagues at the investment firm would comment on how lucky he was to have a wife who supported his crazy work hours. My own co-workers would say things like, "Must be nice to have a husband who's so stable," as if stability was the peak of romantic achievement. Our house was in Maplewood Estates, one of those neighborhoods where everyone mows their lawn on the same day and plants the same seasonal flowers. White picket fence energy, except our fence was actually black iron, which Trevor said looked more sophisticated. We had a golden retriever named Biscuit that we'd adopted 3 years ago, mostly because I'd pushed for it. Trevor had wanted to wait until we had kids, but I'd convinced him that a dog was good practice. Biscuit loved me more than he loved Trevor. Dogs know things, don't they? Our families adored us as a couple. My mother constantly bragged to her church friends about her successful daughter and her handsome son-in-law. Trevor's parents, Richard and Patricia, treated me like the daughter they'd always wanted, especially since Trevor's sister Emily had moved to Seattle and rarely visited. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every birthday, we showed up together, smiling, bringing expensive wine and thoughtful gifts. We were the gold standard. But here's what nobody saw. The way Trevor stopped kissing me good morning about 4 years into our marriage. How date nights became my responsibility entirely, and even then, he'd spend half the evening checking his phone. The fact that he hadn't bought me a birthday present in 3 years, just handed me his credit card and told me to get myself something nice. The way intimacy had become scheduled, perfunctory, something we did because married people are supposed to, not because there was any passion left. I told myself it was normal. This is what long-term marriage looks like, I'd think while lying awake at night, listening to him snore beside me. The butterflies fade. The romance settles into partnership. That's maturity. That's real love. What a joke. By the way, if you're listening and feeling this story already, you might as well subscribe. Don't be shy, join us. Because this is just the beginning. I was always the one who tried. Always. For our 10th anniversary, I'd planned an entire weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast in wine country. I'd made a photo album by hand, stayed up until 3 in the morning cutting and pasting and writing little captions about our memories. I'd bought him a vintage watch he'd mentioned wanting months before. He'd forgotten our anniversary entirely. Came home at 9 p.m. with takeout and apologized, said work had been insane. No card. No gift. No acknowledgement that a decade of marriage might deserve more than lukewarm pad thai and an "I'm sorry, babe." I'd cried in the bathroom that night while he watched television in the living room. But I stayed. I always stayed. Because leaving felt like admitting failure, and I'd never failed at anything in my life. I had a master's degree. I had a career. I had plans and goals and ambition. Surely I could figure out how to make my own marriage work. I just needed to try harder. So for our 12th anniversary, I decided to go all out. The video montage was just part of it. I'd also made reservations at Luminaire, the most expensive restaurant in the city, the one with the 6-month waiting list that I'd somehow gotten us into by calling in a favor from a client. I'd bought a new dress, deep emerald green, the kind that hugged in all the right places. I'd even booked us a suite at the hotel upstairs for the night, thinking maybe, just maybe, we could recapture something we'd lost. I'd invited people. Not just our immediate families, but friends, his co-workers, even his boss, Gerald, who Trevor was always trying to impress. I'd told everyone it was going to be a surprise celebration, that Trevor didn't know about any of it, that I wanted to honor him publicly for being such an amazing husband. The irony makes me sick now. I'd spent weeks planning this. Weeks. Coordinating schedules, arranging the private dining room, making sure the restaurant had the right wine, the right menu, the right ambience. All of it to celebrate a man who was betraying me in our own home. The moment I closed that laptop, I sat in complete silence for what felt like an eternity. My home office suddenly felt foreign. The walls I'd painted a soft grey 2 summers ago. The desk I'd assembled myself because Trevor had been too busy. The framed photo of us on our wedding day, both of us grinning like we'd won the lottery. That photo was 3 feet from where I'd just watched my husband cheat on me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to tear that photo off the wall and smash it against the floor until the glass shattered into 1,000 pieces, just like my heart felt in that moment. But I didn't. Instead, I opened the laptop again. My hands were steadier this time. The shock was wearing off, being replaced by something sharper, something that felt almost surgical in its precision. I needed to know everything. I went back to the folder. Scrolled through more files. Found another one from March 16th. Clicked it. Same woman. Same living room. This time they were cooking together in our kitchen. She was wearing one of his t-shirts. Just his t-shirt, nothing else visible, her legs bare as she stood at our stove, stirring something in a pan while he came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, kissed her neck. They looked like a couple. A real couple. The kind with easy affection and inside jokes and comfort. The kind Trevor and I had never actually been. I found another file. March 19th. They were dancing in our living room, no music I could hear, just swaying together like they were the only two people in the world. March 21st. Sitting on our back porch, her head on his shoulder, both of them watching the sunset. A week. She'd spent at least a week in my house. In my space. Touching my things. Sleeping in my bed, probably. Wearing his shirts. Playing house with my husband. While I was 4 hours away, helping my mother recover from surgery, sleeping on her uncomfortable guest bed, waking up at 6 a.m. to help her to the bathroom, cooking her meals, managing her medications, exhausting myself to take care of the woman who'd raised me. Trevor had called me every night during that week. Every single night. He'd asked how Mom was doing, told me he missed me, said the house felt empty without me. He'd lied to my face. To my voice. To my trust. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, don't break my heart like that. Tap the button. Let's keep growing together. Because you need to hear what happens when a woman decides she's done being played. I checked the dates on all the files. The affair had been going on for at least 8 months, based on what I could find. 8 months of lunches and afternoons and stolen moments. Always when I wasn't home. Always careful, calculated, hidden. But he'd forgotten about the cameras. We'd installed them for security, but they backed up automatically to our shared cloud storage. Trevor had set it all up himself, proudly explaining how everything was encrypted and safe. He'd just never considered that I might actually look at the footage. Men really do think we're stupid, don't they? I grabbed my phone and started researching. Reverse image search on screenshots I'd taken of her face from the videos. Social media deep dives. Credit card statements I'd always had access to but never thought to scrutinize. Her name was Vanessa Chen. 30 years old. A corporate lawyer at a firm that did business with Trevor's investment company. That's how they'd met. A business lunch that turned into something else. She was married. Oh, that detail made me smile for the first time since I'd opened that cursed folder. She was married to someone named Derek Chen, an architect. They'd been married for 5 years. No kids. She posted photos of them on Instagram, all perfect and curated, with captions about date nights and gratitude and partnership. The hypocrisy was almost beautiful. I kept digging. Found receipts for hotels. Lunches at restaurants I'd never been to. A jewelry purchase from February, a delicate necklace that I'd never seen Trevor give me. He'd bought her jewelry. I looked down at my own hand, at the wedding ring I'd worn for 12 years. White gold with a modest diamond. I told him when he proposed that I didn't need anything fancy, that I just wanted something meaningful. He'd spent more on her necklace than he'd spent on my engagement ring. The rage that had been simmering started to boil. I spent the next 3 hours going through everything. Every file, every receipt, every digital footprint I could find. I made copies of everything. Downloaded videos. Screenshot conversations I found on his iPad that he'd forgotten to delete. Built an entire case like I was preparing for trial. And then I sat back and thought about what to do with it. I could confront him right now. Walk downstairs where he was watching a basketball game, throw the evidence in his face, demand answers and apologies and explanations that wouldn't matter anyway. But that felt too easy. Too private. Too small. Trevor had humiliated me in secret for 8 months. He'd made me look like a fool while I planned romantic gestures and tried to save our marriage single-handedly. He'd let me invest everything into us while he was investing himself in someone else. If I confronted him privately, he'd apologize. He'd cry, probably. Promise it meant nothing. Beg for another chance. Maybe even convince me to stay, to try therapy, to work through it. And even if I left him, it would be quiet. Dignified. We'd tell people we'd grown apart. That it was mutual. That we wanted different things. He'd get to save face. Keep his reputation. Move on to Vanessa or whoever else, with everyone thinking he was just a guy whose marriage didn't work out. No. That wasn't going to happen. Before we go on, quick question, are you subscribed? If not, go ahead and fix that for me. I promise, I'll keep the stories coming. And trust me, you want to see where this goes. Trevor had made a fool of me in the dark. I was going to return the favor in the brightest spotlight I could find. Our anniversary dinner was in 2.5 weeks. Everything was already planned. The venue was booked. The guests were invited. The stage was set. All I had to do was change the show. That night, Trevor came to bed around midnight. I was already under the covers, pretending to read a book, when really I'd been staring at the same page for 40 minutes, my mind spinning with plans and rage and a sick sort of anticipation. "Hey, babe," he said, changing into his pajamas. "You coming to bed early?" I looked up at him. Really looked at him. Tried to see what I'd missed, what clues I'd ignored. He looked the same. Same strong jawline, same dark hair starting to grey at the temples in that distinguished way, same easy smile. He looked like a good man. Cheaters always do, don't they? "Just tired," I said, keeping my voice normal. "Long day." He climbed into bed beside me, kissed my forehead in that absent way he always did. Routine affection. Muscle memory. "Love you," he murmured, already turning away, reaching for his phone to check one last time before sleep. "Love you too," I said. The words tasted like poison. He was asleep within minutes, snoring softly, completely at peace. Meanwhile, I lay there in the dark, every muscle tense, my mind replaying those videos over and over. The way he'd touched her. The way he'd smiled at her. The way he'd looked at her with attention and presence and desire. When was the last time he'd looked at me like that? I couldn't remember. Had he ever looked at me like that? Maybe in the beginning. Maybe during our first year of marriage when everything was new and exciting. But it had faded so quickly, and I'd told myself that was normal, that passion always fades, that what we had was better because it was stable. What a lie I'd sold myself. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. Or the one after that. For 3 days, I moved through our house like a ghost, functioning but not feeling, acting but not believing. I made Trevor breakfast. I kissed him goodbye when he left for work. I asked about his day when he came home. I played the role of devoted wife so perfectly that he never suspected a thing. But inside, I was cataloguing everything. Every lie. Every evasion. Every time he said he had to work late and I now knew, just knew, he was with her. On the 4th day, I went to work and couldn't focus on anything. My assistant, Jennifer, asked if I was feeling okay. I told her I was just stressed about a project. She brought me tea and told me to take it easy. If only she knew. I called the restaurant that afternoon. Confirmed our reservation for the private dining room. Asked about their AV capabilities. "We have a projector and screen available for presentations," the event coordinator said. "Is this for a business dinner?" Something like that, I replied. I'll need it set up and ready to go. I'll be providing my own media. Of course, Mrs. Buchanan. Whatever you need. Whatever I need. What I needed was revenge. What I needed was justice. What I needed was for everyone who thought we were the perfect couple to see exactly what my husband had done. Settle in, get comfortable, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. You're safe here. And you're about to witness something unforgettable. I started making a list of everyone who was coming to the dinner. Both sets of parents. Trevor's sister Emily. My best friend Rachel. Trevor's 3 closest friends from college. 5 of his co-workers, including his boss Gerald. And then I did something calculated. I found Vanessa Chen's husband, Derek, on social media. Sent him a message from a fake account. You don't know me, but I think there's something you should know about your wife. Can we meet for coffee? He responded within an hour. Suspicious but curious. We met at a cafe across town 2 days later. Derek was handsome in an understated way. Glasses, dressed well, carried himself with quiet confidence. He looked nervous when I sat down across from him. Who are you? He asked immediately. My name is Sarah, I said. Sarah Buchanan. And I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but your wife is having an affair with my husband. The color drained from his face. I showed him the videos. Just enough to prove it. Enough to shatter whatever illusions he'd been living under, just like mine had been shattered. He watched in silence, his jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. How long? He finally asked. 8 months. Maybe longer. He closed his eyes. Took a shaky breath. I thought. God, I'm so stupid. I thought she was just busy with work. They're always just busy with work, I said, and I meant it. We sat there for a moment, 2 strangers bound by betrayal, both of us trying to process the implosion of our marriages. What are you going to do? He asked. I told him about the anniversary dinner. About my plan. About the footage I was going to play in front of everyone who mattered to Trevor. Derek listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, I want to be there. What? I want to be there when you do it. I want to see his face. And hers, if she's stupid enough to show. I hadn't even thought about inviting Vanessa. But Derek's presence alone would send the message loud and clear. Consider yourself invited, I said. We exchanged numbers. 2 devastated spouses forming an unlikely alliance. As I drove home that afternoon, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Power. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was the one in control. I was the one holding all the cards. Trevor thought he was getting away with everything, thought I was oblivious and trusting and easy to deceive. He had no idea what was coming. The next week and a half passed in a strange haze. I confirmed every detail for the dinner. Made sure the tech setup would work. Edited the footage down to a 5-minute compilation, the highlights of my husband's betrayal set to the song he'd told me was ours. The cruel poetry of it made me feel almost giddy. Trevor asked me once if I was excited about our anniversary. Very, I said, smiling at him across the dinner table. I think it's going to be a night no one forgets. You didn't have to do anything big, he said, but he looked pleased. Probably thought I'd arranged something sweet and sentimental, another chance for him to coast on my effort while he secretly texted Vanessa under the table. Oh, I wanted to, I said. You deserve it. And I meant every word. Before we continue, can I ask a tiny favor? Hit that subscribe button. It means more than you know. Because what's about to happen at that anniversary dinner is going to blow your mind. 3 days before the anniversary, I got my hair done. Bought new makeup. Had my nails done in a deep red that looked like wine or blood, depending on the light. I was preparing for war, and I was going to look stunning doing it. 2 days before, I packed a bag. Clothes, important documents, jewelry, things I didn't want to leave behind. I put it in the trunk of my car, hidden under a blanket. After the dinner, I wasn't coming back to this house. Not to live, anyway. One day before, I printed out the divorce papers. Filled them out myself. Had them ready to go. The morning of our anniversary, Trevor woke up early. Actually made me breakfast, which was shocking. Pancakes and coffee, served to me in bed. "Happy anniversary, Sarah," he said, kissing me gently. I looked up at him and wondered if he felt any guilt at all. Any shame. Any conflict. His eyes were clear. His smile was genuine. He felt nothing. "Happy anniversary," I said back. That afternoon, while he was at work, I sent a text to all the dinner guests. "Can't wait to see everyone tonight. We have a very special presentation planned. This is going to be memorable." Rachel texted back immediately. "You're the sweetest. Trevor is so lucky." If only she knew what kind of luck was about to hit him. I got ready slowly, methodically. Put on the emerald dress. Did my makeup flawlessly. Looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. I looked beautiful. I looked dangerous. Trevor came home to change, whistled when he saw me. "Wow, you look incredible." "Thank you," I said. "So do you." He was wearing a suit. Navy blue, perfectly tailored. He looked like success. Like stability. Like a man who had it all. By the end of tonight, he'd have nothing. We drove to the restaurant separately because I told him I had to pick something up on the way. Really, I just wanted my own car, my own escape route, my own control. When I walked into Luminaire, the private dining room was already filling up. Soft lighting, elegant table settings, flowers I'd specifically requested. Everyone was dressed beautifully, sipping champagne, chatting and laughing. They all thought they were here to celebrate love. They had no idea they were about to witness its destruction. The private dining room at Luminaire was everything I'd imagined it would be. Soft golden lighting from crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the long table set for 20 guests. White linens, silver cutlery, arrangements of white roses and eucalyptus running down the center. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline, now painted in the oranges and purples of sunset. It was beautiful. Romantic. Perfect. The ideal setting for what I was about to do. I arrived 15 minutes before Trevor, wanting to make sure everything was in place. The restaurant staff had set up the projector and screen at the far end of the room, exactly as I'd requested. I told them it was for a surprise slideshow tribute to my husband. They'd thought it was sweet. Everyone thought I was sweet. I handed the USB drive to the AV technician, a young guy probably in his mid-20s who looked bored with his job. "Everything's queued up," I said. "I'll give you a signal when to start it." A nod, like this. I demonstrated. "Got it," he said. "And you want the lights dimmed? Completely off if possible. I want everyone focused on the screen." "No problem. This is really nice, what you're doing for your husband." I smiled. "He deserves it." Guests started arriving. My mother came first, elegant in a navy dress, her silver hair perfectly styled. She hugged me tightly. "Sweetheart, this is wonderful," she said, looking around. "Trevor is going to be so touched." "I hope so, Mom." Trevor's parents arrived next. Patricia, his mother, kissed my cheek and told me I looked stunning. Richard, his father, shook my hand formally as he always did, then softened and pulled me into a brief hug. "You're good to our son," he said. If only he knew how good I'd been while his son had been so very bad. Rachel arrived with her husband, Marcus. She squealed when she saw me, practically ran across the room. "Sarah. Oh my God, you look amazing. And this place." She gestured around. "You really went all out." "Only the best," I said. Where's Trevor? He'll be here soon. I wanted to get here early to make sure everything was set up. You're such a good wife, she said, and something in her tone made me want to laugh hysterically. Or cry. Or scream. Instead, I just smiled. Trevor's co-workers began trickling in. I recognized them from company parties. Brandon, who worked directly under Trevor. Melissa, from accounting. James, another investment manager. And then Gerald, Trevor's boss, a distinguished man in his 60s with white hair and an air of authority that made everyone straighten up when he entered a room. Sarah, Gerald said, shaking my hand warmly. What a lovely gesture this is. Trevor speaks very highly of you. Does he? I asked, unable to keep a slight edge out of my voice. Gerald didn't notice. Oh yes. Always says his success wouldn't be possible without your support at home. His support at home? While he was building another life with another woman. Why haven't you subscribed? Don't you like the story? Come on, hit that button. You're going to want to remember where you were when you watched this unfold. Trevor's sister Emily arrived, having flown in from Seattle that morning. She hugged me warmly. This is so thoughtful, she said. Trevor doesn't deserve you, honestly. He never remembers anyone's birthday, never plans anything, and here you are orchestrating this whole beautiful evening. Well, I said carefully, tonight he's going to get exactly what he deserves. Emily laughed, not catching my meaning at all. The last person to arrive, just before Trevor, was Derek Chen. I'd sent him the invitation 2 days ago with specific instructions, come alone. Tell no one why you're really here. Sit near the back. Wait. He walked in looking uncomfortable in a dark suit, his eyes scanning the room until they found mine. I gave him a subtle nod. He found an empty seat at the far end of the table, introducing himself to no one, keeping his head down. No one questioned the stranger. They probably assumed he was someone from Trevor's work or a distant relative they'd never met. And then Trevor arrived. He walked into the room and stopped, taking it all in. The decorations, the guests, the obvious effort I'd put into everything. For a moment, genuine surprise crossed his face, followed by something that might have been guilt but disappeared too quickly for me to be sure. Sarah, he said, crossing to me and pulling me into his arms. You did all this. Happy anniversary, I said into his shoulder, my voice steady. Everyone applauded. Trevor smiled that charming smile, waving at the room like a politician, greeting his parents, hugging his sister, shaking hands with Gerald. He was in his element. Center of attention. Beloved by all. Enjoy it while it lasts, I thought. We all took our seats. Trevor at the head of the table, me to his right. His parents flanking us, then radiating outward, closest family and friends nearest, co-workers and acquaintances further away. Derek was seated at the very end, almost hidden behind a floral arrangement. Perfect. Dinner was served in courses. A butternut squash soup to start, followed by arugula salad with candied walnuts and goat cheese. The main course was filet mignon with roasted vegetables and truffle mashed potatoes. Wine flowed freely. Conversations bubbled around the table, laughter punctuating stories and jokes. Trevor held my hand at one point, squeezed it, leaned over and whispered, "Thank you for this." Really? I know I don't say it enough, but I appreciate you. I squeezed back. You have no idea what's coming. He thought I meant dessert or the slideshow. He smiled and kissed my temple. I felt nothing. No love, no affection, not even anger anymore. Just cold, calculated certainty. After the main course, as plates were being cleared and dessert menus distributed, Trevor stood up. He tapped his wine glass with his fork, and the room quieted. Oh no. He was going to give a speech. I hadn't planned for this, but it was perfect. Even better than I'd imagined. I just want to say a few words, Trevor began, his voice warm and confident. He looked down at me, then out at the assembled guests. 12 years ago, I married the most incredible woman I've ever met. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Sarah has been my rock, my support, my partner in everything. She's the reason I've been able to succeed in my career. She's the reason our home is full of warmth and love. She's patient when I'm stressed, understanding when I have to work late, always there with a smile and encouragement. Work late. Right. She plans these beautiful moments, he continued, gesturing around the room. She remembers the important things. She holds our life together while I'm busy trying to provide for our future. And I don't tell her enough how much that means to me. He looked directly at me now, his eyes suspiciously shiny, like he might actually cry. Sarah, you are my everything. My best friend, my soulmate, the love of my life. These 12 years have been the best of my existence, and I can't wait for 12 more, and 12 after that, and on until we're old and grey and sitting on a porch somewhere, still holding hands. The room erupted in applause. People were actually crying. His mother was sobbing quietly. My own mother was beaming. Trevor raised his glass. To my beautiful wife. To loyalty, to trust, to love that lasts forever. To Sarah and Trevor, everyone chorused, glasses raised. I lifted my glass and took a sip, letting the moment settle, letting everyone bask in the beautiful lie he'd just told. And then I stood up. The room quieted again, all eyes on me now. Trevor looked pleased, probably thought I was going to give some emotional response to his speech. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, I began, my voice clear and steady. It means the world to me to be surrounded by the people we love most, the people who've supported us, believed in us, held us up as an example of what marriage should be. Nods around the table. Smiles. Agreement. Trevor just gave a beautiful speech about loyalty and trust and love. I paused, let those words hang in the air. And I think those are perfect themes for what I want to share with you all tonight. I glanced at the AV technician, who was standing by the light switch. He was paying attention, waiting for my signal. I spent a lot of time preparing something special for this anniversary, I continued. I wanted to create a tribute, a montage of our life together. I went through old photos, old videos, trying to capture our journey. Trevor was smiling, completely unsuspecting. And while I was looking through footage, I found something I didn't expect to find. Something I think everyone here needs to see. The first flicker of confusion crossed Trevor's face. I gave the technician the nod. The lights went out. In the darkness, I heard the hum of the projector coming to life. A beam of light shot across the room, hitting the white screen at the far end. For 3 seconds, there was nothing but a black screen and the sound of people shifting in their seats, curious, expectant. Trevor was still standing beside me. I could feel the heat of his body, hear his breathing. He still didn't understand. Then the video started. Our living room filled the screen, bright afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows I'd decorated with curtains I'd chosen. Our couch, our coffee table, our home. And there was Trevor, walking into frame. With her. I heard the exact moment recognition hit the room. A collective intake of breath. Someone's fork clattered against a plate. On screen, Trevor poured wine for Vanessa Chen. She laughed at something he said, touched his arm with casual intimacy. They sat on our couch, close, too close. Sarah, Trevor's voice came from beside me, low and urgent. Sarah, what is this? I didn't answer. I just watched the screen. On screen, Trevor kissed her. Not a peck, not a friendly gesture, but a deep, passionate kiss that left no room for misinterpretation. Someone gasped. I think it was his mother. The video cut to another clip. Same woman, same house, different day. She was wearing his shirt, cooking in our kitchen. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, buried his face in her neck. They looked happy. Comfortable. Like they'd done this 100 times. Turn it off, Trevor said, his voice rising. Sarah, turn it off right now. But I still didn't respond. The room was frozen, every eye glued to the screen, watching my husband's affair play out in high definition. Another clip. They were dancing in our living room, swaying together, his hands on her hips, her arms around his neck. The timestamp showed March 18th. While I was helping my mother recover from surgery. Oh my God, Emily's voice cut through the silence. Trevor, what the fuck? The video continued. A montage of betrayal. Clips of them laughing together, touching, kissing, existing in my space like I didn't matter, like our marriage didn't matter, like 12 years of my life were just an inconvenient obstacle to work around. And then came the final clip. The one I'd saved for last. Trevor and Vanessa in our bedroom. My bedroom. On my side of the bed. Patricia screamed. Actually screamed. Trevor lunged for me, trying to grab my phone, my purse, anything he thought might control the video. Stop it! Sarah, please, stop it! I stepped back smoothly, out of his reach. The video played on. You need to turn this off. His voice was desperate now, cracking. This is private. You can't do this. Private. I said calmly, speaking for the first time since the video started. Like how privately you've been fucking her in our home for 8 months. The room exploded. Trevor's mother was crying openly now, her hands over her mouth. His father had stood up, his face purple with rage. Emily was staring at her brother like he was a stranger. My mother sat frozen, her face completely pale. Gerald, Trevor's boss, pushed his chair back and stood. His expression was one of pure disgust. I've seen enough, he said, his voice cold. Trevor, we'll be discussing this on Monday. Consider yourself on administrative leave pending review. Gerald, please, this isn't, Trevor started. Goodbye, Gerald said, and walked out. 2 of Trevor's co-workers followed immediately. The third, Brandon, sat staring at the screen in shock, probably realizing that every late night at the office he'd covered for was exactly what it looked like. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm begging you. This is the moment. This is when everything changes. Hit that button and stay with me. The video finally ended. The screen went black. The lights came back up, harsh and revealing. Trevor stood there, exposed, his face sheet white except for 2 spots of red high on his cheeks. His hands were shaking. How could you do this? He whispered. In front of everyone. How could you humiliate me like this? The audacity of that question almost made me laugh. Humiliate you? I repeated slowly. Humiliate you? This is between us. This should have been private. Like how you privately betrayed me for 8 months. Like how you privately brought your mistress into our home. Like how you privately made me look like a fool while I planned this entire anniversary celebration. He had no answer for that. Richard, Trevor's father, stood up slowly. He looked at his son with an expression I'd never seen before. Disappointment so deep it looked like physical pain. I raised you better than this, he said quietly. Dad, I can explain. Don't. Richard held up a hand. Patricia, we are leaving. Trevor's mother stood on shaking legs. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, I said gently. They left without another word to their son. Emily walked over to Trevor and slapped him across the face. The crack echoed through the room. You're disgusting, she spat. Don't call me. Don't text me. I don't want to hear from you until you figure out how to be a decent human being. She hugged me briefly, fiercely. You're amazing, she whispered. Seriously. That was brutal and perfect. Then she left too. My mother came to me, pulled me into her arms. Oh, sweetheart. Why didn't you tell me? I needed to do this my way, I said. She nodded against my shoulder. Do you want me to stay? No, Mom. Go home. I'm okay. I promise. She kissed my cheek and left, pausing at the door to shoot Trevor one last withering look. The room was emptying fast. Friends and relatives fleeing the wreckage, probably already composing texts about what they'd just witnessed, how they couldn't believe it, how they'd never seen it coming. Rachel hugged me on her way out. Holy shit, Sarah. I had no idea. I'm here for you, whatever you need. Thank you, I said. Trevor's remaining co-workers left without saying goodbye to him. One by one, the guests departed until only a few people remained. Me, Trevor, and Derek Chen, still sitting at the far end of the table. Trevor finally noticed him. Squinted, confused. Who are you? Derek stood slowly, walked down the length of the table until he was standing face to face with my husband. I'm Derek Chen, he said. Vanessa's husband. Trevor's face went, if possible, even paler. Did you know she was married? Derek asked, his voice eerily calm. Yes. I knew. Did you care? Trevor said nothing. Derek nodded slowly, like he'd expected that answer. Then he turned to me. Thank you for inviting me. I needed to see this. What are you going to do? I asked. What you did, he said. Except I'm thinking her family reunion next month might be a good venue. He smiled without humor. You've inspired me. He shook my hand formally, then walked out, leaving Trevor and me alone in the destroyed remains of our anniversary dinner. Trevor and I stood in the empty dining room, surrounded by half-eaten desserts and abandoned wine glasses. The staff had made themselves scarce, probably watching this disaster unfold from the kitchen, unsure whether to start cleaning or give us privacy. The silence between us was suffocating. Finally, Trevor spoke. I can't believe you did that. His voice wasn't angry anymore. It was hollow, defeated. He sank into his chair, put his head in his hands. What did you expect? I asked, still standing, still composed. Did you think I'd find out and just cry quietly? Beg you to choose me? Go to couples therapy and pretend this never happened? I expected you to talk to me like an adult. To give me a chance to explain. Explain what, exactly? Explain how you accidentally had an 8-month affair? Explain how you accidentally brought her into our home, into our bed? Explain how you accidentally looked me in the eye every single day and lied. He looked up at me, and I saw tears on his face. Actual tears. I'm sorry, he said. God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. If it meant nothing, why did you do it for 8 months? He had no answer. If it meant nothing, why did you buy her jewelry? Why did you take her to nice restaurants? Why did you introduce her to your friends at work? His eyes widened. How do you know about? I know everything, Trevor. Every lunch date, every hotel room, every lie you told me about working late. I found all of it. You know what? Do you know that you can save a soul right now by subscribing? You can put a smile on a random kid's face, basically feed them right now by hitting that button. Do it. Be the hero of someone's day. He was shaking his head, over and over, like he could somehow undo what had happened. It started as nothing. Just lunches with a colleague. Then it became more, and I didn't know how to stop it. You didn't want to stop it. I did. I swear I did. I was going to end it. When? After another 8 months? After a year? After you got her pregnant? He flinched like I'd struck him. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked. Or were you just going to keep living your double life, taking everything I gave you while giving your best to someone else? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Trevor? Please, enlighten me. Make me understand how the man who just gave a speech about loyalty and trust and forever could do this to me. He stood up, reaching for me. Sarah, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, we can work through it. People come back from affairs all the time. Stronger than before. I stepped back before he could touch me. No. No. No, we're not fixing this. No, we're not going to counseling. No, we're not working through anything. We're done. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my entire life. His face crumpled. Sarah, don't do this. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. You don't love me, Trevor. You love the idea of me. You love having someone at home who plans your life, remembers your appointments, makes sure you look good. You love having a safety net. But you don't actually love Emmy. That's not true. When's my birthday? He blinked. What? My birthday. What's the date? He hesitated too long. It's June 19th, I said quietly. We've been married 12 years and you don't even know my birthday. So don't stand there and tell me you love me. Sarah. What's my favorite book? Silence. What's my middle name? Nothing. What do I want to do with my life? What are my dreams? What keeps me awake at night? He stared at me helplessly. You don't know any of it, I said. Because you've never actually paid attention. I've been your assistant, your event planner, your housekeeper, your safety net. But I've never been your partner. That's not fair. What's not fair is wasting 12 years on someone who couldn't even be faithful while I was taking care of my dying mother. That hit him. He actually staggered back a step. She wasn't dying, he whispered. She could have been. She had major surgery. She needed me. And while I was there, exhausting myself, sleeping 3 hours a night, you were here playing house with your mistress. The tears were coming faster now, but I didn't feel any satisfaction in them. I felt nothing but tired. What happens now? He asked. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. Set it on the table between us. What is that? Divorce papers. Already filled out. All you have to do is sign. He picked up the envelope with shaking hands, opened it, stared at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. You already filed? I filed 3 days ago. You've been planning this? This whole thing? The dinner, the video, the divorce. You've been planning my destruction. I've been planning my freedom, I corrected. Your destruction is just a side effect of your own choices. He looked at the papers, then at me, then back at the papers. I won't sign. Yes, you will. I won't. We can fight this. We can save our marriage. Trevor, listen to me very carefully. I leaned forward, made sure he was looking directly into my eyes. Your mother saw you cheat. Your father saw you cheat. Your sister saw you cheat. Your boss saw you cheat. Everyone you work with saw you cheat. Everyone we know saw you cheat. Your reputation is destroyed. Your career is probably over. The only question now is whether you sign those papers and let this end with some dignity, or whether I release the rest of the footage. The rest? Oh, you thought that was all I had? Trevor, I have hours of footage. Hours of you and Vanessa. In every room of our house. Saying things about me that I'm sure you'd prefer stayed private. Should I post it online? Should I send it to your clients? To her law firm? His face went grey. Sign the papers, I said. Take whatever consequences are coming. And maybe, eventually, you can rebuild some kind of life. But it won't be with me. He sat there for a long moment, holding the papers, his whole body shaking. Then he pulled a pen from his jacket pocket and signed. I watched his signature appear on the line, felt something in my chest finally release. Not relief exactly. Not happiness. Just finality. I'll have my lawyer file them tomorrow, I said. Where will you go? That's not your concern anymore. Sarah, please. Can't we at least talk about? Goodbye, Trevor. I picked up my purse, picked up the signed divorce papers, and walked toward the door. I really did love you, he called after me. I stopped, turned back to look at him one last time. Sitting alone in that beautiful dining room, surrounded by the wreckage of the life he'd destroyed. Then you should have treated me like it, I said. And I walked out. The night air hit me like a baptism when I stepped outside the restaurant. Cool, clean, carrying the scent of rain that hadn't fallen yet. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, breathing it in, feeling the weight of 12 years lifting off my shoulders like I'd been carrying stones and only just realized I could put them down. My phone was already buzzing. Text after text rolling in. Some from people who'd been at the dinner, others from people who'd already heard through the grapevine. The story was spreading like wildfire. Rachel, OMG, are you okay? Where are you? Do you need me? Emily, seriously, Sarah. You're a fucking warrior. Call me tomorrow. My mother, come home, sweetheart. Your old room is ready. I silenced the phone and dropped it in my purse. I'd respond later. Right now, I needed to breathe. I walked to my car, parked 2 blocks away in a garage. Every step felt lighter than the last. By the time I reached the driver's seat, I was almost floating. I didn't go to my mother's house. I didn't go back to the home I'd shared with Trevor. Instead, I drove to the extended stay hotel across town where I'd booked a suite 3 days ago. 1 bedroom, kitchenette, space enough to think and plan and exist without the ghosts of my marriage haunting every corner. The room was exactly as I'd left it that morning. Suitcase on the bed, toiletries in the bathroom, laptop on the desk. My escape pod. My fresh start. I changed out of the emerald dress, hung it carefully in the closet. I'd never wear it again, but I wanted to keep it. A trophy. Evidence of the night I took my life back. In yoga pants and an old t-shirt, I made tea and sat by the window, looking out at the city lights. My phone continued buzzing, but I ignored it. For the first time in 8 months, since that afternoon I discovered the affair, I felt completely at peace. Before we get to the end, I need to know, have you subscribed yet? Because this story, this moment, this reclamation of dignity, it matters. And your support matters. Hit that button. Let's build this family together. The next morning, I woke up naturally, no alarm, sunlight streaming through the curtains. For a moment, I forgot where I was, reached for the familiar shape of Trevor beside me before remembering. He wasn't there. He would never be there again. And God, the relief was overwhelming. I made coffee, checked my phone properly for the first time. 73 text messages. 22 missed calls. 14 voicemails. I went through them methodically. Rachel had texted 5 times asking if I was okay, if I needed anything, offering to come wherever I was. I texted back, I'm safe. I'm okay. I just need a few days. Thank you for caring. Emily had sent a long message about how proud she was of me, how she'd always suspected Trevor wasn't being faithful but hadn't known how to tell me, how she hoped we could stay close even though technically we'd no longer be related. I texted back, you're not losing a sister-in-law. You're gaining a friend. Let's have lunch next week. My mother had called 4 times. I called her back. Sarah. Oh, thank God. Where are you? Are you safe? I'm safe, Mom. I'm at a hotel. I just needed some space. Come home, sweetheart. Please. You shouldn't be alone right now. I'm not alone. I'm with myself. And that's exactly who I need to be with. She was quiet for a moment. Then, you're stronger than I ever was. What do you mean? Your father cheated on me. Did you know that? I sat down heavily on the bed. What? No. When? Years ago. Before you were born. I found out, and I stayed. I forgave him, tried to make it work. And we did, eventually. But Sarah, I lost something in staying. Some part of myself I never got back. Mom. What you did last night, standing up for yourself, refusing to accept less than you deserve. I'm so proud of you. I wish I'd had your courage. We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me stories I'd never heard about her marriage, about the compromises she'd made, the pieces of herself she'd given up. By the end, we were both crying. Take your time, she said finally. And when you're ready, come home. Your room is waiting. After we hung up, I sat with what she'd told me. All those years, I'd thought my parents' marriage was solid, stable, maybe not passionate but good enough. Another beautiful lie, another couple pretending. How many of us are there? How many people maintaining facades of happy marriages while slowly dying inside? I checked the other messages. Several were from people I barely knew, probably just wanting gossip. I deleted those. One was from Derek Chen, just told Vanessa I want a divorce. She's moving out today. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone in this. I smiled at that. At least one other person was taking their life back too. There was nothing from Trevor. No calls, no texts, no desperate apologies. Either he was respecting my space or he was too destroyed to reach out. I hoped it was both. Over the next week, I moved through the logistics of ending a marriage. Met with my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Brennan who'd seen hundreds of divorces and showed no judgment, only efficiency. The fact that he signed immediately will make this much faster, she said, reviewing the papers. And given the evidence you have, he won't fight you on anything. He can't afford to. How long until it's final? In this state, with an uncontested divorce? 6 months minimum. But the hard part is over, Sarah. The rest is just paperwork. I hired movers to pack up my belongings from the house. I didn't go back myself, couldn't bear to see those rooms where I'd lived such a false life. Instead, I gave them a list, and they boxed up my clothes, my books, my personal items. Everything that was mine. Trevor texted once during the move, "Are you really taking everything?" I responded, "Just what's mine. The house is yours. I don't want it anymore." He didn't respond to that. I found an apartment. Nothing fancy, nothing huge, just a one-bedroom in a building downtown with big windows and exposed brick and absolutely no memories attached. I signed the lease and felt another piece of my old life fall away. Rachel helped me move in, and we spent an entire Saturday unpacking boxes and arranging furniture and drinking wine on the floor because I hadn't bought a couch yet. "How are you really doing?" she asked as we sat surrounded by half-empty boxes. "I'm good," I said, and realized I meant it. Really, truly good. Not even a little bit sad. Sad about what? About losing a husband who cheated on me? About ending a marriage that was empty? Rachel, I'm not sad. I'm free. She raised her glass. To freedom, then. To freedom. 2 weeks after the anniversary dinner, Emily called. "Have you heard?" "Heard what?" "Trevor got fired." I sat up straighter. "Seriously?" Gerald said he'd become a liability. That clients were asking questions, that his judgment was compromised. Plus, that whole public humiliation thing didn't help his professional reputation. They let him go yesterday. I should have felt something. Guilt, maybe, or vindication. But I felt nothing but mild interest. And Vanessa, Emily continued, clearly enjoying delivering gossip, got put on leave from her law firm pending an ethics investigation. Apparently, sleeping with clients is frowned upon. "She's not just his mistress," I said. "She's his client's representative." Yep. Conflict of interest. Breach of professional conduct. The whole thing. Derek's divorce lawyer is having a field day with it. After we hung up, I thought about Trevor. About how completely his life had imploded. Job gone. Reputation destroyed. Wife gone. Family disgusted with him. And I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just distance. He'd made his choices. These were his consequences. And they had nothing to do with me anymore. 3 months after the anniversary dinner that ended my marriage, I was sitting in my new apartment on a Sunday morning, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise paint my exposed brick walls in shades of gold and pink. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Sarah? It's Patricia. Trevor's mother. I hadn't spoken to her since the dinner. I sat up straighter, bracing myself. Hi, Patricia. I hope it's okay that I'm calling. I got your number from Emily. It's fine. What can I do for you? There was a long pause. Then, I wanted to apologize. You don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I raised a son who hurt you. Who betrayed you? Who threw away the best thing that ever happened to him? That's on me, at least partially. Patricia. Let me finish, please. Her voice was shaking. I've thought about what you did at that dinner every single day since it happened. And at first, I was angry with you. Humiliating my son like that, in front of everyone. It seemed cruel. My chest tightened, but I said nothing. But then I realized something, she continued. You didn't humiliate him. He humiliated himself. You just refused to keep his secrets. And there's a difference. I felt tears prickling my eyes. You deserved better than what my son gave you, Patricia said. You deserved faithfulness and respect and real love. And I'm sorry you didn't get it. I'm sorry I raised a man who could do what he did. Thank you, I whispered. That means more than you know. How are you doing? Really? I looked around my apartment. At the furniture I'd chosen myself. At the artwork I'd hung on walls that were mine alone. At the life I was building from scratch. I'm happy, I said, and the truth of it rang through the words. I'm actually, genuinely happy. Good, Patricia said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. That's all I needed to know. Take care of yourself, Sarah. You too. After we hung up, I sat with that conversation for a long time. The fact that even Trevor's own mother saw what he'd done, acknowledged it, refused to make excuses for him. It was a strange kind of closure I hadn't known I needed. The weeks continued to pass, falling into a rhythm that was entirely my own. I went to work and actually enjoyed it again, no longer distracted by the weight of a failing marriage. I took a pottery class on Tuesday nights just because it sounded fun. I started running in the mornings, watching the city wake up around me. I went on dates. Nothing serious, just coffee or dinner with men I met through apps or friends. Some were nice, some weren't. I didn't care about finding someone new. I was just learning how to be me again, without the context of being someone's wife. One evening, about 4 months post-divorce, I ran into someone I hadn't expected to see. I was at a bookstore, browsing the fiction section, when a familiar voice said my name. Sarah. I turned to find Derek Chen standing there, holding a stack of books, looking considerably better than the last time I'd seen him. Derek. Hi. We hugged awkwardly, the way people do when they're bonded by trauma but don't really know each other. How are you? I asked. I'm good. Really good, actually. My divorce just finalized last week. Mine too. Just 2 days ago. We both laughed at the timing. Do you want to grab coffee? He asked. I'd love to hear how you're doing. We sat in the bookstore cafe for 2 hours, swapping stories about our divorces, our ex-spouses, the aftermath of our respective public exposures. Vanessa had apparently shown up at her family reunion with a new boyfriend, only to have Derek's video presentation waiting. The symmetry was almost poetic. Do you ever regret it? Derek asked. The public thing? People keep telling me I should have handled it privately, that I was cruel. People who've never been betrayed always have opinions about how betrayal should be handled, I said. But no. I don't regret it for a second. Me neither. He smiled. I've never felt more free. We exchanged numbers, promised to stay in touch, parted ways as unlikely friends bound by the shared experience of reclaiming our lives. Listen, if you're still watching and you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you waiting for? This is the ending. This is where I tell you what it all meant. Don't miss this. 6 months after the anniversary dinner, I was promoted at work. Senior project manager, bigger salary, more responsibility, recognition for the work I'd been doing all along but had been too distracted to fully invest in. My boss, Catherine, called me into her office to tell me. You've been on fire lately, she said. Whatever changed in your life, it's working. You're focused, creative, leading your team beautifully. This promotion is well deserved. Thank you, I said. It means a lot. What had changed was simple. I'd stopped pouring all my energy into a man who didn't deserve it and started investing in myself. I celebrated by taking myself to dinner at Luminaire. Yes, the same restaurant where I destroyed my marriage. I'd thought about avoiding it forever, but that felt like giving it power it didn't deserve. I sat at a table by the window, ordered the filet mignon, drank expensive wine, and toasted myself. To Sarah Buchanan, I whispered, raising my glass. Who lost a husband and found herself. The waiter noticed I was alone and asked if I was waiting for someone. Nope, I said, smiling. Just me tonight. Celebrating something? Everything. 8 months after the divorce, I was cleaning out some boxes I'd never fully unpacked when I found the USB drive. The one with all the footage I'd compiled, the evidence of Trevor's betrayal. I held it in my hand for a long moment, remembering the rage I'd felt when I first discovered what he'd done. The cold calculation that had gone into planning my revenge. The satisfaction of watching his world crumble. And then I snapped it in half and threw it in the trash. I didn't need it anymore. Didn't need to hold on to the proof of his betrayal or the weapon I'd used against him. It was over. Done. That chapter of my life was closed, and I wasn't interested in rereading it. 1 year after that anniversary dinner, I was exactly where I needed to be. I'd sold my half of the house to Trevor, who'd taken out a loan to buy me out. I'd heard through Emily that he was struggling financially, still looking for work after being blacklisted in his industry. That Vanessa had left him within weeks of everything blowing up, returning to her husband with apologies Trevor never got. I'd heard all of this with the mild interest you have for a stranger's life. Because that's what Trevor was now. A stranger who'd once played a role in my story but was no longer relevant to my present. I was dating someone new. Michael, a high school teacher I'd met at Rachel's birthday party. He was kind, thoughtful, present. He remembered my birthday without being reminded. He asked about my dreams. He planned dates and brought me flowers and looked at me like I was the most fascinating person in the room. Was it serious? I didn't know yet. And that was okay. I wasn't rushing into anything. Wasn't trying to replace what I'd lost because I hadn't actually lost anything worth keeping. I'd gained everything that mattered, my dignity, my self-respect, my freedom, my peace. My mother asked me once if I ever regretted how I'd handled the divorce. If I thought I'd been too harsh, too public, too brutal. Mom, I said, do you regret staying with Dad after he cheated? She was quiet for a long moment. Every day, she finally admitted. Then don't ask me if I regret leaving. Here's what I learned from the wreckage of my marriage, from the ashes of a life I thought I wanted. Betrayal hurts. God, it hurts. It carves out pieces of you that you didn't know could be removed while you were still breathing. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about love, about trust, about yourself. But watching the truth burn in daylight? That heals faster than pretending ever could. I could have confronted Trevor privately. Could have cried and screamed and begged for explanations that wouldn't have mattered. Could have gone to therapy and tried to rebuild trust that was already shattered beyond repair. Could have stayed and settled and slowly suffocated under the weight of knowing what he'd done. Instead, I chose fire. I chose to let everyone see the truth. To refuse to protect his reputation at the cost of my dignity. To stand up in front of all the people who thought we were perfect and show them exactly what perfection had been hiding. Was it revenge? Yes. Was it justice? Also yes. Was it the right choice? For me, absolutely. Because here's the thing about staying silent, about handling betrayal with quiet grace, about protecting the person who hurt you, it doesn't make you noble. It makes you complicit in your own diminishment. I refuse to be diminished. I refuse to shrink myself to make Trevor's betrayal more palatable. I refuse to care more about his comfort than my own truth. And in refusing all of that, I found something I didn't know I'd lost, myself. The real me. Not Trevor's wife. Not the woman who planned anniversaries and remembered birthdays and held together a marriage through sheer force of will. Just Sarah. Whole, complete, enough all on her own. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like I was, if you've discovered betrayal and you're trying to decide what to do, let me tell you something. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your forgiveness. You don't owe anyone a second chance to hurt you. What you owe yourself is the truth. The whole truth, bright and burning and impossible to ignore. And yes, people will tell you you're being dramatic. They'll say you should handle it privately, be the bigger person, think about how your actions will affect everyone else. But those people aren't living your life. They're not the ones who've been lied to, cheated on, disrespected in their own home. They're not the ones who have to decide whether to swallow poison to keep everyone else comfortable. So don't. Don't swallow the poison. Spit it out. Make them taste it. Make them see what they've done. And then walk away with your head high and your heart healing and your future wide open. Before I let you go, I need to ask one more time. Have you subscribed? Because stories like this, stories about reclaiming power and refusing to be a victim and building a life that's authentically yours, they matter. Your support helps me keep telling them. So hit that button. Join this community of people who refuse to settle for less than they deserve. It's been a year since I played that video at my anniversary dinner. A year since I watched my husband's face go pale as his secrets lit up a screen for everyone to see. A year since I chose myself over the comfortable lie of my marriage. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, it was the best decision I ever made. My life isn't perfect now. I have bad days. I have moments where I feel lonely or scared or uncertain about the future. I have nights where I wonder if I'll ever trust anyone completely again. But I also have mornings where I wake up in my own space, with my own choices, living my own authentic life. I have friends who've seen me at my worst and loved me anyway. I have work that fulfills me. I have possibilities stretching out ahead of me like an open road. And most importantly, I have myself back. The version of me that refuses to settle. That knows her worth. That won't accept crumbs when she deserves the whole damn feast. Trevor did me a favor, in the end. He showed me who he really was. He showed me what I'd been accepting. He showed me that the life I thought I wanted was actually a cage I'd built myself. And then I burned that cage to the ground and walked out free. So here's my final message to you, whoever you are, wherever you're watching from. Sometimes the person who walks away isn't giving up. They're just finally done accepting less than they deserve. Sometimes destruction is the first step toward building something better. Sometimes the ending you feared is actually the beginning you needed all along. I thought my marriage was my happy ending. Turns out, it was just the prologue. The real story? The one about a woman who loved herself enough to demand better? That story started the moment I pressed play on that video. And it's still being written, one beautiful, free, authentic day at a time. Thank you for being here with me through this journey. Thank you for listening, for caring, for maybe seeing yourself in parts of my story. If this resonated with you, if it made you feel something, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your own story of reclamation and freedom. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe. Because there are more stories to tell, more truths to share, more proof that we're all stronger than we think we are. Until next time, remember this: you are not defined by who hurt you. You're defined by how you rise after the fall. And trust me, the rising? That's the best part. This is Sarah Buchanan, signing off. Stay strong. Stay true. And never, ever settle for a love that requires you to be less than you are. Because you deserve the whole damn feast. Thank you for reading this complete story. I hope it delivered the emotional intensity, drama, and satisfying resolution you were looking for. The protagonist got her victory, her freedom, and ultimately, her happiness, exactly as requested.